If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Please, let me explain. 1, it is free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from the phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many others. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So please, download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm and get started today.
Greetings. This is Steve Salyards, the author of the GA Junkie, and here are some Presbyterian history notes for the week of June 28th. Sunday, June 28th. Francis Heron was born on this day in 1774. He is a frontier evangelist and pastor in Pennsylvania and Ohio before accepting a call in eastern Pennsylvania for a few years, and then moving west and serving the rest of his career in Pittsburgh. He helped establish Western Seminary in Allegheny and served on the board of the school, including as the president of the board for a few years. He was the moderator of the 1827 PCUSA General Assembly. Monday, June 29th. In 1901, James Bennett died. He was born in January of 1817 in Ireland, trained for the ministry in Scotland, and ordained in Ireland. In 1853, he moved to St. John's Church in New Brunswick, Canada, and served there the rest of his life. He worked for the 1866 Union of the Free Church and Church of Scotland New Brunswick Synods, and upon the union of the synods, Bennett was chosen as the moderator. For Bennett, the merger was driven by the need of a united Presbyterian voice in the politics of the province, particularly in the area of education. At the time of his death, he was the oldest Presbyterian pastor in Canada. On a side note, the church that Bennett served in New Brunswick, St. James Presbyterian Church, was the oldest free church in North America. Bennett was the third pastor to serve that congregation. Tuesday, June 30th. On this day in 1775, the royal governor of North Carolina, Josiah Martin, sent a copy of the Mecklenburg Resolves from a month earlier to the colonial secretary of Great Britain with a letter that promised consequences for the authors of the statement, mostly Presbyterians. Martin's letter reads in part, "The resolves, which your lordship will find in the enclosed newspaper, surpass all the horrid and treasonable publications the inflammatory spirits of this continent have yet produced." Wednesday, July 1st. Jonathan Edwards preached his farewell sermon at Northampton Church on this day in 1750, following his removal as the called pastor. His message was on the final meeting before God. He served as a pastor in Stockbridge for a few years, before becoming the president of the College of New Jersey. Thursday, July 2nd. Samuel Finley was born on this day in 1715. He was raised in Ireland and came to America as a young man where he studied at the Log College. He is a Great Awakening preacher in Connecticut, Maryland, and New Jersey, and an educator. Finley was one of the original trustees of the College of New Jersey and served as its 5th president. Friday, July 3rd. On this day in 1770, the first presbytery and the first Presbyterian ordination in Canada occurred. This was an ad hoc presbytery for the ordination of the first locally raised Presbyterian minister, Mr. Bruin Romkus Cumingo. 4 ministers gathered in Nova Scotia, including a Dutch Reformed pastor from New Jersey and 2 local congregational ministers, and in a meeting before the royal governor, ordained Mr. Cumingo. He was ordained at the age of 46 and served the Lüneburg congregation for 50 years. Saturday, July 4th. George Duffield IV was born on this day in 1794. He was the son and grandson of noted Presbyterian pastors of the same name, and his son, George Duffield V, was a pastor as well. This George Duffield was a pastor in Pennsylvania, New York City, and Detroit. His book, titled Regeneration, was a noted New School work that helped fuel the old New School split, and his writings helped form the core of the Presbytery of Detroit censure of Charles Finney and his revival methods. Duffield was the moderator of the 1862 New School, PCUSA General Assembly, and served for a decade as a regent of the University of Michigan. Thanks for joining me here on the EAR podcast. Stay safe in these times, and I look forward to joining you again next week.
The Ear, Evangelical and Reformed Christian Podcast. Welcome to The Ear, the Evangelical and Reformed, a Christian podcast that urges you to think deeper and draws you closer to God through faith. Through powerful sermons, teaching segments, and discussions, The Ear hopes to give you a different perspective on secular topics from a Christian worldview. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Please welcome your host, Brandon Queen. You have reached the end of yet another episode from The Ear. We hope that God's Word remains on the ears of the listeners. We pray that this podcast would urge you to go forth and spread His good news to the world. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. See you at the next episode. God bless you, and may His glory shine upon you.